handle section glued on here. I've taken these out of the clamps, taken the cling film off, and I've just cleaned it up very roughly on the belt sander, but that handle block is looking good and the tips are looking good also. I have here a template for the handle section. This being marked on, you can probably just see that there. As I say, I may take this this line here a little bit further out just to catch the bottom of this ash. Right, they're cut out like that. There's a little bit of a lip still here, which this is going to come off on the belt sander later. Right now what we're going to do is mark these tips out and just shape them roughly and get a string on the thing. On the ash, the lowest part of this combination here, we're going in 2.5 centimeters, which should be 25 millimeters, and we're going to put a line through the whole thing, like so. I'll just show you that. It's just a line like that. Now I want to transfer that line to the other side because we want this to be in more or less the same place on the other side. So again, we're coming down 2.5 centimeters, which is there, and if I can get this the right way around, that's it. I'm going to take it from the bottom there up through to the top. That's looking good. We're going to cut these knocks with this. This is very old hacksaw, and what I have in it here is a tile cutting blade. And this is about the right sort of thickness, right sort of diameter for the string. And I found that to be, it's a little bit stronger than the file. The file will open that up just a touch more afterwards, but to start with we're going to use this to cut these knocks. We're just going to get that on the line, and it'll bite into the wood fairly quickly. I like to take this down to just over the depth of the blade itself, just so I have enough for the string to get a good grasp on this tip. I'll do the other side. Okay, that's looking good. We're going to finish that off with a file. The file will just widen it up a touch. This is a chainsaw file used for sharpening a chainsaw, and it normally is a good sort of diameter to take the string. Do that on both sides. And now we have it this sort of thing, and I'm going to take it across the top here on this ash just to mark out the area, the two different sections of the tip. Now I don't want to take this right the way down to the purple heart at this point. I'm going to put just a slight little round on it as we go. That's looking good. And just to remove any sharp points, just get into it there and round those off. There we are. Right, the string's going to sit nicely in there. We're going to do the same thing to the opposite side of the bow, and then we're going to carve these tips in a little bit. And now I do this with a rasp. the rasp will take this wood down fairly quickly, so it's a tool that you have to use fairly carefully. As I say, what we want to do here is just get down to the Purple Heart if we can. Now I'm going to take these a little bit off the sides here as well, just to start rounding the whole of the tip. Getting down to the Purple Heart, and we're starting to expose that under the ash. Is looking okay. That's probably enough for now. It's sort of taking shape, it's got the groove in. I'm going to do the same with the other side, and then we're going to stick it on the tillering stick. This is the tillering setup that I'm using here. It's coming down in increments of 1 inch. We obviously have the tillering stick, increments of 1 inch. We have the scales here, which have a pulley system at the bottom, and this paddle, which allows me to get away from the thing and sort of pull it to look at the bow from a distance. Make some marks on the side of the limb so that when we are tillering we can sort of look at which part of the limb is performing best, which part needs a little bit more work, etc. 25 centimetres down from the knock and one at 50. Now if we just transfer those onto the side, we'll be able to see which part of the limb is bending correctly and which part isn't. Alright, we have the bow on the tillering stick, we've got the scales on it, and we've landed it up. But I have the paddle here, and I'm just going to give that a bit of a pull. Now there's some weight in that bow, I can tell you that. The scales, that's currently at 50 pounds, and it's moving about 3 inches there. So there's a lot of wood on there, and there's a lot of weight in the bow. There's motion occurring here, and not much motion occurring anywhere else. So this gives the first clue as to where we're going to start tillering that. Here, going outwards, and around here, coming outwards. Now I'm going to take some of this wood off on the belt samsas. But first off, we're going to take these fades down, and then we're going to take a little bit off each limb. So here we go. And back to another test. I'm going to give it a little bit of just stretching it at this point, just a touch. We don't want to stretch it too much. We don't want to put too much force on it and cause it to set at this point. So we can put it on there. And I normally find get these things out of there. Okay. The weaker limb. This needs more wood off. Okay, so we'll try to correct that up now. Alright, just put the string back on. A little bit more of that exercise. Alright, that's looking a bit better. I would say that's pretty much there. They're even at this point. I'm happy with that. The next part of this is to look at it in motion and see if we can determine which parts of the limb aren't bending. I would say from the 50 mark, which is here, and the other one here, it's the mid-limb. It's around this point here. Seems to be stiff to me. Seems to be doing okay here. But that area looks a little stiff. Let's check that again. Yeah. I would say we've got bend here. A little bit, not much, but we do have some bend there. But we've got very little bend in this section. So I put a peg in the 20-inch hole there, and we'll just pull that on down to that mark and see where we are. Okay, it's just flipped a little bit. There's a little bit more wants to come off that one, but we can see it's coming down, slowly but surely. It's getting there. And so far that's looking quite good. The finished tip, well not the finished tips, but the tips are starting to take shape. The handle section's starting to take shape. And I'm happy with